Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Matsui, for holding today's hearing. Thank you also to our witnesses for agreeing to be present with us. We all know it's no secret that we are living in a world where our communications infrastructure is increasingly at risk. Between cyber attacks from foreign entities, such as the Chinese Communist Party, to targeted network infiltration, it is more important than ever that the United States is more vigilant and prepared to defend itself against these multiple bad actors. That is why, along with Representative Susie Lee, that I introduced H.R. 2061, the Information and Communication Technology Strategy Act. This important legislation will develop that the Department of Commerce is consistently updating Congress on what needs to be done to adequately secure our communications systems through our supply chains. This will be one step in a long list of necessary actions that the U.S. government needs to be taking to adequately protect our critical networks. Mr. Jaffer, how would you evaluate the readiness of our current telecommunications systems against these identifiable and well-known bad actors? And I will elicit them. Specifically, how are we prepared when it comes to China, when it comes to Iran, and when it comes to North Korea, who we recognize are repeat offenders?
Well, Dr. Joyce, we're ill-prepared. Our telecommunications infrastructure is vulnerable. We know it. Our government is not effective at deterring bad activity by our adversaries. And we're not working together collaboratively to defend that piece of critical infrastructure. There are other pieces of critical infrastructure as well that we're not good at defending, but that's one area where we need to work more effectively as a government and industry together. There are a few things we could do in the immediate term to address some of these issues. One, to your point about supply chains. We know today that we rely massively on China for things like semiconductors, critical minerals. We're seeing it today in the tariff wars where China's cutting us off for critical minerals. We need to develop a domestic and allied capability to refine, to extract and refine those. We have critical minerals here in the United States. We have the ability to obtain them for our allies and partners abroad. We simply send 96% upwards of that material in key areas over to China to refine. Right. It makes no sense. The same is true of semiconductors. We see the situation in Taiwan. If we're going to survive on our current technology basis, we've got to be able to defend Taiwan. China's threatening it. It's not clear that if today China were to go across the Taiwan Straits, that the United States would do anything or that we could get there in time to effectively defend our friends in Taiwan.
Mr. Jaffer, can you help me understand a different issue? How has Huawei become the global behemoth that it is today? And what more do we need to do to counter Huawei and the spread of untrusted telecommunications equipment, especially when we see allies and partners using equipment from Huawei?
Dr. Joyce, it's a great question. The way they've obtained this advantage is they've done it on the backs of stolen intellectual property from American companies, including Cisco. They've built routers that look a lot like a Cisco router because they stole that technology. Now, they've improved on it, they've modified it over time, but that's where they stole it from in the beginning. On top of that, they've depended on low-interest loans and no-interest grants from the Chinese government. The Chinese government goes around the globe subsidizing their purchases, giving countries other stuff, other benefits for taking Huawei equipment. And so we've got to compete in a world in which China is acting non-economically to put their surveillance gear in place in allied countries and countries around the globe, not just allies but partners as well. We can't do that effectively until we partner with our friends who make telecommunications equipment. We don't make a ton of handsets. We make a lot of routers. We make a lot of core network gear. Then we got to get that into those networks. We did rip and replace at home. That's amazing. That's the right thing to do. We've got to do global rip and replace. And that means putting some of our money and incentivizing our manufacturers and giving them the capabilities to go abroad and deliver that capabilities to our friends the way the Chinese are doing against us with Huawei and ZTE.
Mr. Stalin, in the moments that are remaining, first of all, thank you for your leadership and your advocacy at SIA. But what specific actions have your member organizations taken to protect themselves against the attacks and strengthen the supply chain?
Yeah, so we are, and our members are very much focused on the processes that are used to develop new products. It is, as you mentioned a minute ago, a big challenge with companies like Huawei that undercut us financially, often selling below cost just to win the business and to hang on to it. We need to rebuild our infrastructure here in the U.S. We need to rebuild our vendor base in the U.S., and it starts with the ICT space, specifically with semiconductors.
And I thank you, and I think you, I, and President Trump all recognize that building that infrastructure, that supply chain right here in the U.S. is important and actually paramount for our success. I thank all of our witnesses for being with us here today, and Mr. Chair, I yield.